Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning and a warm welcome to you all to the JSAA Commencement Lecture 2021. A warm welcome to all my students at the JSAA, to all my fellow colleagues, to our Vice Chancellor, to the Registrar, the Dean and the Executive Dean, as well as to our Commencement Lecture guest speaker for the day today. A warm welcome to all our new students who have joined us with firm belief on the school in the year 2021. With this, I would like to invite and request Professor Thomas Mittal to deliver the welcome address for the event today. Professor Mittal, yeah.
Thank you, Saurabh. Can everyone hear me, I hope?
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay. So I'm Thomas Michael. I'm Dean. I was from Chicago by way of Auckland, New Zealand, now in Sunpark.
On the school.
And let me start now. Welcome to the new and returning students, faculty, staff, and stakeholders. Change is in the air. It is the promise and potential of a new academic year. In the colder climates where I was educated, we noticed bluer shadows and the changing of the leaves, which marks a transition from the free play of summer to increasingly scholarly immersion and focus. For many of us, the academic cycle brackets a transformative phase of individuation, the growing awareness of a complex world and its deeper knowledge systems that are signaling the visible and invisible processes which infiltrate the everyday. In my short time here, I will only offer a few insights for navigating some of the complexity of this benchmark moment in our chaotic present. It seems we are in a world going off the rails, in a world that also needs multiple clear visions. It feels as if linear time is now skipping, now paused, now repeating, now cracking open. In mytho-poetic terms, the chronotopes of the present are turning themselves inside out. And this turning is a destabilizing that also exposes other mechanisms of thought and action, which we can study in the university. In these times, plural times, I would say, insights compel us to learn new forms of learning themselves, and in so doing to examine our own conscience and conscientiousness as well, so as to become the reflective practitioners in disciplines that the world urgently needs and has always needed. It is long overdue that the recent turn to social justice, inclusiveness of diversity, including neurodiversity, ecological intelligence, repair cultures, expansive duties of care are now seeping into design pedagogy globally. And behind this, we can discern the reasoned ethical core of a reflective practitioner. It is a deeper project and the great challenge of design education these days to form a reflective practitioner. Consider that the study of design and its processes is one of the most hopeful disciplines, dare I say optimistic, where ideas and ambitions and dreams always count. Even learning this history gives us power. In design education, hope typically condenses and saturates around drawings. When we draw, we are drawing out values, aspirations, necessities. Drawing is a discipline, recording of possibilities, and a drawing out to future scenarios as well. Design as a discipline and practice offers other forms of hope as well, other forms of knowledge, and everywhere, I say, gives the gift of multiplicity, citing Mauss and Bergson. Thinking is always a thinking in the multiple for a designer. Design thinking and divergent thinking give us multiple lifestyles, multiple tactics, multiple options, always driven by multiple questions. In this year, you will likely discover a new focus. You maybe experiment with new subjectivities, explore new spatial logics, perhaps become aware of all sorts of the emergent conditions immediately before us. In these plural times of uncertainty, it is very important that we continuously question. And I think that's what we're supposed to do here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Mittal, for your introduction speech. I would request now Professor Dr. Jaydeep Chatterjee to deliver a small introduction to JSAA.
Thank you, Saurabh. Good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome to our speaker today, Honorable Vice Chancellor, our Registrar, all the faculty, but most of all, to the student. Welcome to this fourth commencement of the JSAA. I have a very short presentation for all of you. Please bear with me while I share my screen. I hope you can see my screen. Saurabh, can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, we can.
Thank you
Yes.
so much. All right. JSA, we are a very new school. We are only 3 years old. This is our 4th commencement that is happening. We began in 2018 with a vision, no, a dream maybe, to become one of the foremost center of learning that will really shift the way we understand, study, make, manage the built environment. We were very keen that we design and make a place where we understand knowledge as not a standards body of things, but rather something that is always in the making. We wanted a place where learners can be provided with a multidisciplinary, intellectually rigorous environment. We wanted to have a place where there's an intellectual framework that goes beyond binary modes of thinking. And we wanted a place where faculty and students all work together as active agents in the production of the built environment and in the production of our knowledge. 3 years down the line, we have fulfilled some aspects of this. Right. We have 3 academic programs. We have the Bachelor's of Architecture program, the Bachelor's of Design program, and the Bachelor of Arts Built Environment Studies program, which is the only program for architecture for humanities and social sciences students. We have 5 pathways in all of that and 12 minor areas of concentration, which allow our students almost 60 available combinations. We believe in a life project-based learning. Our students are given their own flexibility to design their own curriculum, and we have multiple industry opportunities from foundation year onwards. Our infrastructure has grown thanks to the largesse of the university. We have about 15,000 square feet of dedicated studio and workshop spaces. We have some 250 software packages for our students to access. We have 4 wonderful labs, the latest one being a virtual environment lab that is just starting up, which has motion capture equipment, 3D immersive technologies, 3D scanning technologies, and the works. We've also grown in our student numbers. By this year, we'll be about 160 students and 20, including your batch, and 20 faculty members. Our faculty-student ratio will be at a 1:8. We have students from 14 national states represented in the student body. Our student gender ratios are extremely healthy, with 60% being female and 40% being male. In the faculty, it's about 50-50. 75% of our faculty are internationally trained, which is the highest proportion in any school of art and architecture in the country. 50% of our faculty were doctorates from these universities, which is also the highest proportion of any school of art and architecture in India. We have faculty who have come together. They have been trained from Berkeley, Cincinnati, Cornell, Harvard, Heidelberg, the top 50 universities in the world. In the last 3 years, we have managed about $90,000 of grant externally and about 24 lakhs rupees of grant from internal grants from the university. Our faculty has gotten together, published 3 books, 10 book chapters, 20 plus research papers, 10 plus conference publications. We have 2 research centers that we have started at the JSAA. And over the last 3 years, we've done 100 plus workshops and guest lectures. Research for our students is very, very important. We have started venues for them to put this thing out through newsletters and blogs. Our students are working on research projects with students in Sweden, with people in Delhi, all over the world. In fact, the school is going to start the first research journal on the built environment in this country, which is going to start next year. This year, we have started the first ever undergraduate international conference on the built environment, which is going to happen in September and October. We have received an overwhelming response for this from about 75 students from all over the world. This has been a wonderful, wonderful beginning to the conference. We are extremely plugged into the industry. We have created a database of more than 60 plus industries, which include places from all sectors in the built environment. This may be companies like Fortune 500 companies like CBRE, places like the World Wildlife Fund, like CIDC, Neemrana, soon IGBC, which is the Green Council, where our speaker, Green Buildings Council, they are also becoming a partner of us. We have, over the last few months, we have seen 100% internship placements of JSA students. In fact, recently, we have started a unique externship program. We call that the Practica, where companies, more than all of these companies are actually coming into our curricula and offering classes to our students as a part of the knowledge exchange. So our students are doing a practica and a kind of externship even while they're studying during their regular semester. We have had more than 50 plus lectures by workshops in industry. Internationalization. Global is the middle name of the university and also our programs as such. The JSAA in 2021 has launched the World Cities program, the short-term visits to international. I already mentioned our first international student conference. We have also started on an extensive program of international collaborations with faculty in research. So we have a project going on with the University of Chicago, with INTBouw and ICOMOS in Netherlands. We have recently tied up with the Inchbald School of Design, with the Nottingham Trent University, and with Adelaide University, right? We have our extensive board of studies. It comprises with over 40 external members from all over the world. Right. I will stop here, but again, let me welcome all of you, all the students, to this fourth commencement. Wonderful to have you here, and thank you for choosing JSAA. Over to you, Saurabh.
Thank you, Professor Chatterjee, for introducing all of us to JSAA once again. We believe in the work that we do at the school. Now, I would request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. C. Rajkumar, to please deliver the keynote address for the event today. Professor Kumar.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to extend a warm welcome to our distinguished speaker and chief guest for this very important commencement lecture, Mr. Suresh. I also want to extend a warm welcome to all our students who have joined the Jindal School of Art and Architecture, the students who have joined the Bachelor of Architecture BArch program, the Bachelor of Arts Honors in Built Environment Studies, and the Bachelor of Design BDES program. As you know, the Jindal School of Art and Architecture offers 3 of these undergraduate programs, and we have students who have been part of these 3 programs. We also have students, existing students, who have also logged in to be part of this promising to be a fascinating event. I want to begin by saying that congratulations to the students who have joined the Jindal School of Art and Architecture. I know that the last year has been extremely challenging and quite unprecedented in the history of the world in a way, at least the history that we know for the last a century or so. And I think it gives enormous sense of resilience for each one of you to have worked through the last year, completed your high school studies, took the entrance examinations, and now here you are without even taking a proper break or a vacation. You have enrolled yourself into an undergraduate program. It shows your own personal commitment to the cause of education. And I can only hope that with this grit and determination with which you have undertaken the academic journey, you will achieve your fullest potential in the course of the next several years. Before I speak a bit about the vision of the School of Art and Architecture, I want to say that OP Jindal Global University is well poised to provide the kind of education that you would hope to have in a world-class institution. The Jindal School of Art and Architecture is part of a larger university which has 12 different schools. We have a law school, a business school, a school of international affairs, a school of government and public policy, a school of liberal arts and humanities, a school of journalism and communication, a school of banking and finance, a school of environment and sustainability, a school of psychology and counseling. All the 10 of them are up and running, including the School of Art and Architecture. In addition to that, we have just announced the establishment of 2 new schools, which will begin its academic session in 2022, the Jindal School of Languages and Literature and the Jindal School of Public Health and Human Development. I mentioned this to all the students who have joined the Jindal School of Art and Architecture to bring home the larger point that architecture is not just a vocational education. Architecture is about understanding the needs and aspirations of society. And architects are expected to play a much stronger and a more substantive role in building the kind of society that we intend to create for ourselves, including the human habitat that we want to have. And hence, it is important for architects or aspiring architects to not necessarily study in standalone architecture schools, but to be part of a larger university in which the students of art and architecture have opportunities to study the entire gamut of liberal arts, humanities, social sciences, and business and other areas, including law. And that is part of the vision of OP Jindal Global University. And I am happy to report that the Jindal School of Architecture, Art and Architecture is part of that intellectual milieu in which such opportunities are provided for our students. The second thing I want to share with you is that the discipline of architecture has gone through enormous challenges at various points of time in history. Of course, we have a very our own history and civilizational heritage that contributed towards establishment of phenomenal architectural creations that has outlasted time and space, and we even today value them. But also, one of the big challenges that we are facing today is that what ought to be the role of architects in the future? To what extent architects are responsible, have a duty and obligation to address the future challenges. So I am by no means an expert in architecture, and and one of the things I've done in the course of the last 12 years is to help and understand how quickly we can do things here on our campus. But the larger issue that I am much more concerned is that what are the big issues that architects need to be conscious of as they look at the future? When I read about it, I found something quite amazing that scholars and thinkers and others have mentioned. Way back, I think in 2016, the Chilean Pritzker Prize laureate said that he believed, and I quote, architecture's potential to alleviate some of the world's problems comes from a balance between practicality and intelligence. He also suggested that architecture should be viewed as a set of tools to understand society rather than simply a profession. And he, of course, alluded to the fact that as climate change is swiftly becoming a threatening specter looming over the earth, it is high time people across the world are led to a more sustainable way of life. Trained in the principles of design thinking and space manipulation, architects can find innovative solutions to the major global issues faced by governments all over the world today, unquote. So the question, and that's exactly what our distinguished speaker and commencement address chief guest is going to do. And his own work is a living testament to the importance of the issues that this Chilean Pritzker Prize laureate had mentioned. I also want to mention that some of the issues that we should be conscious of as we look at the future of architecture is that how do we create new urban habitats to be able to, with a population of over 1.3 billion people, what are the needs and aspirations of the society which requires significant impetus to build housing facilities for large population, and to what extent this will have an impact on society, what kind of innovation can be brought towards creating this type of infrastructure. As some others have also said, to what extent urban planning and urban infrastructure is becoming important. That's an area that needs to be addressed too. Here, I think it's absolutely critical for India to address this issue very significantly, because there is a lot of correlation between spread of infectious diseases on the one hand, to the public health priorities on the other, and poor urban infrastructure, including poor sanitation. All of that are also correlated. So we really need to develop a strong and sustainable urban infrastructure. And of course, the third big issue that everybody has talked about is that something that architects have a very big role to play, is that how can we create the future buildings that will have a significant impact towards reducing the greenhouse gases emissions. That's another area where architecture need to be mindful of. And of course, I also want to mention that several years ago, I used to, I spent many years in Hong Kong, and then I also taught in China. And one of the things I was quite impressed with in the older city in Shanghai was the effort that they had put in to preserve the cultural and historical heritage, even in a modern futuristic city like Shanghai. So one of the things that we should be conscious of is that while we need to develop and respond to the modernity and the challenges of modernity, including the teeming millions, but also big cities and catering to the aspirations of young people, to what extent that will also need to be balanced with preserving heritage is also something that we need to be conscious of. And the other thing which I think is which has become a major challenge is that to what extent architecture should protect common spaces, and which can actually ensure a commitment to pluralism and inclusivity, even when we create exclusive spaces for people. In fact, large cities around the world, or the great cities around the world, have given enormous emphasis on actually having common spaces. Recently, Jaideep and I and some of us were invited to visit the Central Vista by the architect, Mr. Patel, and we were quite inspired and impressed with the extraordinary effort that is being underway in expanding the common space in relation to the Central Vista planning itself. Independent of the hue and cry and the politics of it, which is obviously writ large in any democracy, the fact is architects are working in a self-effacing manner to create that type of spaces. So in a way, the future of architecture is absolutely bright. There are so many issues that are going to be confronting the next generation of young architects. There is no better time than now to be an architect, to pursue design studies, to be part of built environment studies and the programs that you do. But I think there is something to be said about the role of the institutions that are imparting education relating to architecture. It has to have a more holistic approach towards it. People should be introduced to the study of history and sociology and political science and economics and literature and law, along with the core areas, the compulsory and other courses relating to architecture itself. It's equally important that there should be a lot of immersion programs that will enable architects or students of architecture to understand the milieu, the society in which they live in, the kind of evolution of architecture that has happened, but also to accept modernity and to be conscious of the development of big cities. In my earlier part of my life, I used to work in New York City and then, of course, later Hong Kong, and traveled around the world. And I have been amazed how much, in small cities like Hong Kong and New York and other parts of the world, they could create so much of life and opportunities and spaces for people, including a lot of public common spaces. Very counterintuitive that with so much of density in these cities, as somebody who is not an expert in architecture, I was deeply impressed to see how much emphasis was given to creating common spaces right at the heart of New York City. In fact, my office was right opposite the Plaza Hotel at the FAO Schwartz building, and right opposite to my office in New York City was the Central Park, a huge, public space for people. Different. In fact, one of the most extraordinary books written by a moral philosopher named Michael Sandel, which is entitled "What Money Can't Buy: Moral Limits of Markets." Michael has argued that one of the consequences of of a society that has ended up believing that money everything can be bought by money, and there's nothing that money can't buy, and there are no limits on markets. And he talks about the consequences of such a society, creating inequalities and institutionalized forms of corruption. But some pages of that book he has devoted about the consequence of contemporary United States, in which he mentioned about the fact that the lack of enough public spaces and the opportunities for people from different strata of society to be able to mingle in that public space is unfortunately reducing significantly. So these are big issues that the future of architecture is going to address, along with issues relating to environmental sustainability and climate change and population density, and also creating urban transportation and coordination surrounding it. These are not small issues, but the heart of it is to be able to understand what kind of a society, what kind of a nation, what kind of a humanity that we are going to build. So once again, I am very, very excited to welcome all the students of the Jindal School of Art and Architecture. Congratulations to each one of you. I also want to extend a warm welcome to our returning students. I know that many of you are not happy about the fact that you couldn't, come back to do anything physically on campus. I must say that we took a decision to have the campus not physically open purely due to public health reasons. We have been very, very conscious of the fact that a residential university with over 8,000 students and nearly 2,000 faculty and staff from 40 countries and 28 states of India will become a COVID cluster if we ended up doing something like that before. Although I must say that we are actively evaluating the situation, and I can only hope that in the next weeks and months to come, we will be able to bring all of you, or as many of you, to come into campus, subject to the situation with regard to COVID and other safety protocols and guidelines and rules and regulations imposed both by the state and the central government. With those words, once again, it's such a pleasure to welcome all of you to OP Jindal Global University and Jindal School of Art and Architecture. I thank Thomas McCall, Jaydeep, and the entire faculty of the Jindal School of Art and Architecture who have assembled here and who have been part of this effort to build a world-class School of Art and Architecture at JG. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dr. C. Rajkumar. That was enriching for all of us. I would now like to introduce our commencement lecture speaker today. We have with us Mr. Vasudevan Suresh. Hello, sir. He is the National Chairman of CII IGBC, the Indian Green Building Council. He is trained as a civil engineer from Anna University in Chennai, and he has worked in major developmental sectors like housing, urban and rural development, infrastructure and real estate sectors, and is currently a passionate leader within the sustainable and resilient built environment front. Mr. Suresh is also the president for an organization named Focus, the Forum of Critical Utility Services. He is the chairman of the BIS, the Bureau of Indian Standards Housing Committee, and the vice chairman of the National Building Code, NBC. Mr. Suresh has also led HUDCO, the Housing and Urban Development Company, as its chairman cum managing director in the past. He has received 18 highly coveted government awards, which includes the CIDC Industry Doyen Award in 2011, the IBC Lifetime Achievement Award, and the ACCE Gaurav Award, recently awarded to him in 2020. I would like to welcome you, sir, to JSAA, and would request you to inspire our young students with your lifetime work and ideas and observations. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much for the wonderful introduction of me by Sauravji. Thank you so much. What a great pleasure to hear from Dr. Thomas Michael, Dr. Jaydeep Chatterjee, and of course a keynote from Professor Rajkumarji. He brought in a wonderful new dimension of architecture, not from the narrow way that we have been looking at it, but to give it the larger holistic integrated approach to be an important professional to deal with the shaping the whole lives of people, citizens, as well as cities in a larger way. That's exactly the way we ourselves also look at it. Also very happy to greet Sridhar Patnaik ji, Registrar, as well as I find Girish Agarwal also has joined, and also Professor Saurabh Banerjee, who is introducing us, and also Abu, who is going to help me on, and all the distinguished faculty. I had an opportunity to say hello to some of you to know what your background are. And of course, more importantly, all the wonderful students who are there, the new ones as well as the existing ones. I'm very happy to address each one of you. It's a great pleasure and honor. And I would like to make my presentation in this commencement lecture through a larger theme on sustainable and resilient built environment is my larger theme. That's going to be the one on built environment. I'm happy that your own particular work has also been on the area of built environment to be your national vision, to come on that. And since we are going to talk of the sustainable, resilient built environment, it's very necessary to have first a global view on what's happening. The whole world has increased from 6.1 billion in 2000 or 610 crores to is going to be 9.3 billion by 2050. 2050 is very important because everybody is committed to achieve the decarbonized net zero level by 2050. Climate change has been talked about by Dr. Rajkumar rightly. Large number of initiatives from 2021 to 2050 on with the 2030 Sustainable Development Goal. But more important message that you have is that while the red band is all the developed countries, rich countries, that is about 1.2 billion, and about 4.9 billion was the under the developing countries. By the time 2050, the developed country population is going to come down from 1.2 billion to 1.1 billion. Interesting, very interesting. Europe, America, Canada, Japan, etc., etc. And the developing countries, the population is increasing from 4.9 billion to 8.2 billion. That's where all the problems are. Population increasing, less resources, more housing to be done, schools to be done, colleges to be done, hospitals to be done, jobs to be created, very limited amount of material resources, financial resources, etc., etc. So it's going to be a very big challenging situation how the whole development can take place, keeping in view the way in which the demographic growth is taking place. Let's look at India itself. And that itself is phenomenally growing from about 320 million or 32 crores at the time of independence. And in 2001, we crossed a billion mark. And you'll be surprised, in 2011, we became 121 crores. We added about 20 crores in 10 years time period, just during the 10 years time period. And by 2021, we say 1.35, but the latest figure shows we already 1.39 billion on date today, 1.39. What it means is that we are adding at the rate of 2 crores or 20 million of population every year. So that means in this period of 2001 to 2021, we added more than 1.3 times that of an America in India, only during these 20 years. Can you believe that it took about 5,000 years of India's civilization to add 320 million, 3000 BC and 2000 AD, we were just around 320 million at the time of independence. And this 20 years time period, we are able to add more than 350 to 380 million. Phenomenal. This is a humongous population explosion. But more importantly, urbanization is also coming over there. From 16% urbanization of villages, where India lives in the villages at that point of time, as Gandhi used to say. But now we are roughly going to about 40% urbanization. We'll be around 600 million urban population only by the year 2030. I want you to understand this phenomenal growth from the rural to urban shift in terms of the population. And that is about 74% of the India's GDP is coming from the economies coming there. Agricultural economy in the rural area contribute less than 22% of GDP. So you got to ensure how population dispersion along with economic and other growth and the infrastructure requirement rightly told by Professor Rajkumar in his address there has to be taken into account. Let's try to have a look at it in a little more detail on some of the problems there. On housing front, about 3.6 million needed urban housing only, coming to about 20 million by 2011. We are in 2021. Reasonably good amount of housing initiative, especially the new Housing for All agenda by this Prime Minister to do housing all by 2022. And but idea is that 40 million urban homes are needed between 2010 to 2030 itself. And most important, the bottom half of the pyramid or the slum housing, the inclusive housing, important, very importantly, and that's other half of the housing needs is for the poor and the low income coming. And we require very phenomenal amount of resources, about US dollar 2 trillion. If you have to just take care of the housing needs of all, including urban and rural put together, including the poorest to the highest income group of all category. That's a type of financial resources. You build one house for a high income group, you have to build about 2 houses for the middle income group. And if you do that, simultaneously, you need to build 3 houses for the low income group and 4 houses for the economically weaker. This 1, 2, 3, 4 rule is very, very interesting for Indian context, the socio-economic profile. I'm happy Rajkumar mentioned about the sociological issues coming, and we have to really take into account. There's no meaning in preparing our young professionals to deal only with the middle income and high income housing, where everybody's interest is going there. That's where all is happening. But the 3 plus 4, 7%, 70% housing is not done. Not only in luxury housing of 200 to 300 square meter, or premium housing of 100 to 160 square meter, affordable low income housing of 50 to 80 square meter, and more importantly, social housing of 30 to 40 square meter. How do we deal with this biggest challenge? And India is committed under the new housing program to deal with that. More so in the context when the construction costs are increasing phenomenally, inflationary trends brings it over there. You will see average incomes are slowly coming up, but the and as well as the wholesale price index is also going up. But the building construction cost goes 50% more than the wholesale price index, because all the aspects of 250 building materials are not covered in the wholesale price index, like steel, cement, bricks, material, etc., not covered. So you got to deal with this aspect also. How do you plan, design, and build to deal with this issue on status of construction industry? Land costs going up 15-20%, cement going up 800 per ton, exceeding plywood, labor costs up by 20%. Overall construction costs up by 15-20%. It is not the poor, weaker section, low income alone that is affected. Even the middle income is very badly affected as a result of this particular cost of construction. Therefore, you require technologies and systems by which you are able to build strong buildings, durable buildings. It should last a long time, at least 15 to, not just 10, 15 years, at least 40 years, 50 years, depending upon the life of each of the wing. Should be functional. From all the climatological, we have 6 climatological zones in the country. It should be aesthetic and beautiful, environment friendly, ecologically appropriate, energy efficient. It should be affordable to all the groups and adaptable for different type of space context, and building materials which are cost effective and appropriate technologies for construction. I'm using these words very consciously because each has got a meaning on what to be done for India's context, which is subcontinental in size and range, for dealing with all these aspects in a very large way. Going forward, you will see to deal with that, you require the right regulatory framework. Fortunately, the National Building Code of India, which is the guiding document to deal with the whole of building construction for the whole country, which is the latest version, 2016. I had the unique pleasure of working with the first version of 1970, that's about 50 odd years back. Then the 83 version, then the 2005 version, the 2016 version, to cover all facets of structural safety, health safety, fire safety, construction safety, electric safety, environment safety, life safety, and public safety. All are covered in this. There will be very important requirement for all our young students to be reasonably well equipped with the provisions of this comprehensive publication. And it doesn't end here. Let's go forward to other elements in the large way. And therefore, this opens up the whole issue of the whole world. It's not enough that building to be safe alone is not enough. You got to worry about the environment, what's going to be the air around us, the water, the water quality, or the issues related to land pollution, ecological issue on flora, fauna, energy consumption issue. We don't have anymore the nature of energy from the normal source of fossil fuel one, which also bring the carbon dioxide, this one, and therefore you require new and renewable energy and effective, efficient economic use of all resource management, land as a resource, building materials as a resource, forest as a resource, etc., etc. And more importantly, the movement of people from one area of activity to another. So urban mobility is an important component. How are you going to take from the place you live, the place you work, place you study, to go for healthcare or entertainment, etc. And therefore, that's also an important component. It's also contributing to energy and pollution-related issue. And most importantly, overall quality of life that should be done at the city level, neighborhood level, at the housing level, etc. Or more importantly, a powerful message for sustainable development. And that's a big message. You got to take it forward. And then the larger issue which has come, which you never used to worry so much earlier, till recently, the building code has really brought down life cycle costing in a large way of a life cycle from cradle to grave, a 50 to 100-year life cycle of buildings, a residential building or a commercial building or a public building, etc., etc. How do you deal design stage, sourcing it, building, you built over there, start operating it, commissioning it, use it for a long period, and then see how it performs there. Then later on, when you remove, bring it down, how do you dispose the material coming on that? That's the type of approach now being given all over the world now of doing a life cycle approach to that. And therefore, the 2015 September, all the 193 countries have joined together to bring the UN Sustainable Development Goal to the 2030. 17 goals are there. It's very essential that all our students are getting fully exposed to all the goals. We are committed to achieve that particular thing. Already 6 years over, only 9 more years to go by, 2030. And this is an area where it's easy to achieve, provided we have the right level of policies, programs, projects, and participation at all levels in a very large way. And I'm very happy that this has already been recognized in the National Building Code, the first code in the whole world. After the 2015 September SDG, India was the first one to bring out in the National Building Code a document called Part 11. Previously, it was only up to Part 10, and we brought in the approach to sustainability to on all aspects on siting, form, design, external development, landscape, envelope optimization, materials, water and waste management, very important, and building service optimization, as well as construction practices, and lastly, commissioning, operation, maintenance, and building performance tracking. That's a last and important. We never used to worry on that till recently, very recently. All were happy as long as the plan a building, design a building, complete a building, everybody goes. No more. You got to really see building performs. That brings in a new part 12 of assets and facility management, included to continuously maintain and assess performance and life of the built environment, life cycle tracking of the building. Like your own campus, you want to see that this campus works 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20, 30 years, continuously. How can you perform on that? So what all things require to be done? Even at the planning design stage, what can be done? What can be done at later on stage? So the assets and facility managers comes for the maintenance of all that. I'm happy that as part of your team, you're a large number of those groups also. And if you want to do that, you got to ensure the materials that are used are environment friendly, ecologically appropriate, energy saving. Very important, because this energy saving word is an important word, because it is not only the operational energy we talk on, how much energy you consume, but the embodied energy of the building material, cement, steel, glass, aluminum, the enormous amount of energy required to produce that. How do you bring in more and more of products which have got less embodied energy coming, etc. And finally, economical in cost. Therefore, the larger message of the new building blocks coming are using agricultural and industrial waste, on waste to wealth, refuse to resource, or trash to cash is going the new mantra around of using the new building blocks which can deal with each one of the things, and substitutes for timber in a large ways, because you can't have, while deforestation has denuded large amount of area, leading to climate collapses of a very large nature and also hazards. So we need to do a large amount of afforestation and related issues to be brought in this particular area over there. And when you deal with the construction system in this country, we are a subcontinental proportion of roughly around 7,313 cities and towns for the urban population, and about 6.4 lakhs villages in the rural area. That's what India is all about, dealing with not only a big city of Mumbai or Delhi, or which are mega cities over 10 million plus, or a 50 to 10 million plus cities, or you have 500 cities or 100,000 population, a large number of other cities are there. And how do you deal with the rural and the urban context in a large way? So the vernacular systems using the local materials and skills which are refined over centuries, used over there. We are talking to Dr. Rajkumar Patnavaram Palace. He talked about large number of those forts using none of those new materials, no cement, no steel, not a bar of steel use, not a bag of cement use, but still they're all standing the test of time in a very large way. 300 years, 400 years, 500 years. How have they done that particular thing? So therefore, for us to learn that, then the conventional system on which we are used to now, based on mass-produced systems on predetermined properties like cement, steel, etc., the civil engineering modern practice on it people are comfortable with, and they say it's long durability, but that's a question mark, because many things we thought is permanent. You talk of concrete, it's a euphemism. Don't talk loosely. Come with a concrete proposal, as if concrete is something permanent. You talk a politician, you ask on that, or you talk to any other. The concrete proposal is a document saying that concrete is something permanent, is something solid or whatever. Not necessarily. Concrete itself has got a history of less than about 100 years time period. What you start getting the problems coming in concrete as a construction material itself, you start seeing that. And now get on to the next level of industrialized system based on factory produced components, partial and total, less labor intensive, maybe good for developed countries, but developing countries, labor component is an important one, but we have good productivity coming. And then the last one is an alternate, which can be a combination of both traditional as well as the technological one in a very large way. And that's what India needs, according to me, at the middle of the road approach. Don't go to the extremes of both the other ones of just using mud only and not using steel and cement alone. So then we require to adopt that. I've tried to put it across that through a nice chart here, which is what is called going from a rural area to travel all the way to semi-urban small town to an urban city into a metropolitan city or a mega city that you have there. When you travel, on the left-hand side of the brain will say use traditional, vernacular, local practices using mud, stone, lime, bamboo, timber, biomass. You've got to be equally knowledgeable in that area alone, and not the current way of knowledge, only technology, which is on the right side, which is cement, steel, bricks, concrete, metal, glass, aluminum, plastics, all the modern produced materials over there. And if predominantly left-hand side is a compression-based structure, the material on the right side will be tension-based structure in terms of how the building material, how the product performs in a large way. And maybe cost of construction between roughly around 200 to 300 rupees per square feet on the lower land, maybe around 800 to 1,000 for the middle level, and about 1,500 to 2,000 or even 3,000 on the other side. While the left side is a bottom-up approach where people and artisans are involved there, right side is predominantly a top-down approach of architects, engineers, builders, developers in a large way. Very important one. So you, instead of doing just the left or the other side, you have the slide rule which can keep on moving. So I can have maybe 70% traditional, 30% technology. Mud to be used in a better way, and lime to use better, bamboo to use the better treated way, or use the other side, technological one also. How do you bring in traditional forms of compression-based structures and then do the tension-based structure? So a combination of all this can come. Hence the word appropriate, intermediate, cost-effective, disaster-resistant, and sustainable technology. I am intentionally not using the word cost-effective, intentionally using the word cost-effective and not low cost. We should get that word out of our dictionary, because the moment you say low cost, you think it's low quality, low durability, and it's ugly, and it's only for the low income or the poor people. No, it is equally applicable to all category across the one. Hence the word cost-effective comes in a very large way. And we can use all that. For example, I am actually in one of the houses which is built by one of the greatest architect called Laurie Baker. And they used all the cost-effective technologies in a large way. For example, the roofing that you can see over there is all filler slabs. Saves about 30% of the concrete to be used by removing the tension concrete and putting those tiles over there. All my walls are all rat wrap bound walls, which use about 30% less number of brick. Even my 4-storied house on one level and 3 at another level, 2 at another level, 1. It's a 1 to 4-storied one. It's all structural load-bearing wall of rat wrap bond, and the inside temperature is 7 degrees to 8 degrees, different than the other one. No lintels there. It's a brick on edge, which goes as the running one. You can see that particular details in a large way. There are large number of interesting, like corbels be brought in over there, and using traditional material. There's no plastering, external, internal. The 140 inches of rainfall. I have no problem, because as Bakerji says, that what you require is not plastering outside, inside, and then painting. What you require is the right, a good hat around, and also good shoes so that water from below doesn't come. A hat will ensure water will not fall on the walls and the roofs protecting that. So there are large number of design issues coming on that. How do you save on foundations? How do you save on walls, roofs, slabs? All these are detailed, which will be a lecture component which can go for 2 hours. Not today, I'm sure you will get into that in detail. And another important component is to see that India is a subcontinent with substantial amount of natural calamities coming on that. And therefore, you got to build safe, strong, and durable to deal with that. Like, for example, if you see there, you can just go into the next slide, which are all the problems coming. Yeah, the floods coming in a large way, continuously affecting cyclones and typhoons, earthquakes, landslides, sea erosion, tsunamis. You got to design. It's not just aesthetic and beautiful design. You got to see that the buildings that you design, you got all the features that you have to bring to make that particular thing, the each one of them, protecting each one of those aspects. As you can see, what are all the areas that we need to incorporate in this particular one? Yeah. I want to just give a very interesting example that Gujarat had a major earthquake in 2001, January 26, and in less than 1.5 minutes, around 13,000 people died and over 8.5 lakhs of houses got completely damaged. And that was in January 2001. And can you believe that 1 month later, Seattle in the western belt of US had a bigger earthquake, 6.9 on the Richter scale. Can you believe only 1% died? That your heart attack and no building collapsed over there? Why? Because the whole city knew that this is going to be an earthquake zone. So everybody plans, design, the architects, the engineers, the builders, the developers, local body, all talk in the same language. Not that India did not have a code, but nobody used to bother. That is not part of a regulatory framework. Your building bylaws of Kutch or Rajkot or Ahmedabad did not say that you're in seismic zone number 3, 4, or 5. Therefore, you got to build that stronger to deal with that particular thing. So it's a good lesson of how a good conscious regulatory framework covering the multi-disaster prone, a seismic zone map of India or earthquake zone map of India similarly, or a landslide zone map or a wind zoning map, etc., are taken into account so that buildings are properly designed. They are not deficient from these particular aspects, and there should not be recommendatory as mandatory status. If you do that, then you will bring a resilient type of residential and commercial and other buildings, school buildings, more importantly, school buildings. In the earthquake place, the maximum damage, children were going to the Republic Day parade, all the children got damaged. Your school building, your public building, campus area, hospitals. The first building that collapsed was the hospital building over there. You cannot afford to have those things happening now. So you got to really think of the resilience aspect in a big way. If you want to do that, you just got to be flood protected, cyclone and typhoon resistant, earthquake resistant, landslide protected, sea erosion, tsunami protected. And we have all details available. Very simple, user-friendly manner. And we have been all the time putting all our initiatives in the bottom basket. Post-disaster, an earthquake comes, a landslide comes, a cyclone comes, then everybody, banner headlines come over there. Everybody's attention is only on that. The media attention is entirely only on that. How do you rescue dead body, live body, recover the people, a little relief shelter, put a little rehabilitation, some few reconstruction here or there, some repairing to be done, partially damaged, building or school, etc., renew or retrofitting. Instead of doing that, what we should need is we got a paradigm shift coming, and that has got to be what can be done today. Today, the 3rd of August, we have not had, at least so far, no major damage. What can we do to predict? We know it. These are the type of zones coming. For example, seismic zone number 4 for Delhi and the northern part, northeast area, the hill area, etc. And if any earthquake comes, God forbid it happen, doesn't happen, at least 30 to 40% of the building are going to collapse. So what do we do to take it, knowing that the damage will be there? How do you get prepared? How do you prevent that? How do you plan for that? How do you protect that, like Seattle could do? How do you promote that? How publicity can be given? How participation of the community is very, very important, because all can't be done by architects and engineers. Only around 30% of the things are done by the architects and engineers. The remaining 70% are done by people themselves with the Raj Mistri. If you want to do that in a big way, it's a matter of spending $1 million, for example, for pre-disaster planning and strengthening, as against $10 million, which is post-disaster. That $1 and $2 million is only an example to show the size of involvement. If you do it later, the cost that will be 10 times than what you can do today of finding like you find your own health related issue, what problems are there. You can find out what are all the deficiency in those particular things for various risks about. And more importantly, out of the 718 districts of the country, around 300 districts are multi-disaster prone there. Namely, earthquakes coming, cyclone coming, flooding coming, landslide coming. So you got to design all the particular buildings to deal with that. Even though structural engineers are supposed to take care of it, I would like the architectural students also equally be aware of the particular aspect in a large way. How you do that? You have to create more awareness among all the students on what are the issues. You should be able to appreciate. If you don't do those things, you will start getting into difficulty. Then the application will come. Now, application is where you should know what is the knowledge level at the level of an architect in terms of planning, design of the building, and that will be through education program that you will have in the syllabus, in your planning, design, functional design. How do you deal with those small elements which can be there? You don't have to go into the engineering design. That means somebody else will do that. And then how do you ensure that the enforcement? I told you about the Seattle case. Now, increasingly enforcement is coming in a large way. And if you cover all this, it's not enough, because as I said, I want to ensure that the various climate change agenda, sustainable built environment is an important thing. The green building path is a new word that has come over there. People are woken up in this country about 20 years back. In other parts of the world, also 30 years back in UK through BREEAM, and US about 1995 through the US Green Building Council. We started in 2001 as part of the CIA, which is a 136 years old organization now. Our own vision is to be sustainable built environment, to be the global leader in sustainable built environment 2025. And that is the Indian Green Building Council's. I'm very happy to be part of it right from the beginning when it got started. As the chairman now, a lot of interesting initiatives have taken place here. As you would see, we started with one green building of 20,000 square feet in 2001. We have come a long way with about 7.86 billion square feet. That's about 786 crore square feet of green footprint, covering everything. All the asset class of building, residential building, school buildings, college building, health hospital building, office building, logistic park, retail, township, not gone at building alone, building and the built environment. I'm happy you have the word built environment as your vision on that. That's the right thing. It's a series of building along with the infrastructure. You can take it at the level of a campus. You can take it to a small neighborhood. You can lay to the layout level. You can also lay out or a neighborhood level, or you can take it to city level. We're the only one who brought in at the level of a green city level. At present, our operation, we are second in the world. And that's the type of vision that we have now going forward. We have about 29 rating systems available, covering all the categories of asset class of building, not only building, but also the green built environment, including green cities, existing cities, greenfield projects. We cover all the types of residential, affordable housing, the poor. Green is not for the rich and the mighty, even for the weaker section of low income. How do you deal with that? And all the commercial projects, we have ratings available for the interior. I'm also happy that you have a good thing for rating interiors in a large way, landscaping in a large way. We cover also the things with transit. Transit is the important urban mobility of metro station, railway stations, airport, railway stations, and other related one as an important. We cover the school buildings, hospital buildings, industrial buildings, also in large. Healthcare and well-being is a very important component. We cover that. So our 29 rating system, we are while we initially adapted from UK or US GBC system in the beginning for the first 5-6 rating, but later on we indigenous for India's requirement. India's requirement into the climate needs are very, very different from what you have in the context of a UK or a US one. We have 95% of the sky, clear design sky, very good standard overcast sky coming over there in the other part. So we deal with the type of temperature, humidity, rainfall related to the indigenous to India's need. All this particular rating system, very, very useful. We have got a separate one, not only for hill habitat is also a very important component. We have 10% of India is also covered by hilly terrains. We be the, which are all the areas. I don't have to open them. As a result of this rating system available, we could do around about 18 lakh houses are under the green houses have come over there because the 3 rating system available. 400 green factories, around 2,200 green offices, including all the IT parks and office spaces, and 48 green townships, and 600 plus green transit into the metro, rail station, airports, etc. Green villages. We are rating even for the green villages, and about 18 green cities. It's a very interesting portfolio covering buildings and the built environment. And we are part of the World Green Building Council. India is represented by IGBC there. 70 countries have the World Green Building Council. All are working to the climate change agenda in a very large way. And we ourselves want to be by next year, 2022, when India becomes 75 years of independence, to be #1 in the world with 10 billion square feet or 1,000 crore square feet of green building footprint. How do you deal with that? All the natural elements that we have, the Panchaphutas we call of nature, be it the earth, the Prithvi, Jal, Agni, Vayu or Akash, earth, water, fire, air, sky, to make in terms of water management, energy management, waste management, and the carbon footprint reduction, utilizing all those good aspects of the traditional construction form. We had respected all these Panchaphutas earlier. For somewhere down the line, we missed it down. We are trying to get back some of those things over there into a very large way in our particular rating systems, also be brought in line with those, respecting of all the natural. That's exactly what sustainability is all about, talking about. And if you do that, we have this rating system available based on sound principles of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Environmental Impact Assessment detail. I'm a member of the Government of India Ministry of Environment Expert Approval Committee for EAA clearances, the Bureau of Energy Efficiency Star Rating Program, Energy Conservation Building Code, and the National Building Code of India, which I told you on Part 11 and Part 12. All our rating systems are covered under these all right level of standard, including the global requirements on these particular one, including ISO dealing with smart city, and more importantly, 11 out of the 17 sustainable development goals are covered in the rating system. Your team has got to be fully aware of the particular thing, get exposed to that. Increasing awareness has to be created on that. If we do that, I'm sure good products, good and affordable housing, like what is done in Karnataka, or go forward to deal with one of the nice, wonderful townships, which is done by one of the biggest, best developers into the quality of aesthetical aspect, or you go to Pune for Tata housing, we are also all are green. Into the ratings are given a gold or a platinum or a silver. It depends on 100-point rating scale for all these parameters. You get more than 80 and above, you get a platinum. 70 and 80, you get a gold. 60 and 70, you get a silver. 50 and above, you get certified. So interesting one. This is all just nice visuals for you to get a feel where all you can get into all those particular building. It can be different geographies of the country. We have seen that all are well, and the message is spreading well. It is not happening of a few cities. It's already come to tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And as a result of that, look at the phenomenal benefit in respect of climate change there. 1 million square feet. I told you that we are about 7.86 billion square feet, and or 7860 million. So every million square feet can have a carbon dioxide reduction of 12,000 tons, energy saving of 15,000 megawatt, or water saving of 45,000 kiloliters, or construction which otherwise would have gone to a landfill of 450 tons, and a renewable energy of 600 megawatt. Only just 1 million square feet of green footprint. So let's see the energy saving coming. It will be equal to about 10 million urban houses to be energy given. Water saving of 29.6 billion liters per year can take a whole of a city like Hyderabad water supply need. A 7.8 million emission reduction will be equal to 9.1 million cars not on the roads. Imagine the amount of impact that can come over there. Waste diverted to landfill, the whole of Devanar's problem can be solved. And the renewable energy component. India is geared up on renewable energy. You all would know we are at present doing of the order of around 820 the whole country there. But our idea is to double it to 170 megawatts. 80. It should read of the order of around 80 gigawatt. And we are going to 400 gigawatts of renewable energy going to come. So renewable energy through solar, wind, other options are going to be very major component. So your design also has to be done passive design, which the architect can do into the orientation, sun path analysis, envelope design, etc. Then the active design, which can be done through interventions coming into the air conditioning system or lift system or electrical installation system or a plumbing system, etc., where energy is needed into a large way. You got to get exposed to that particular one. And mobility, I talked about, we are very more than 60 railway stations will be coming. And I'm putting this because mobility is an important component. No activity can regulate unless people move from one level to another. So how do you move? The best possible buses that you can have, electric vehicles will be an important component, and the metro station 600 number, that will also reduce substantial amount of the carbon footprint reduction. We support all that. And this, of course, the railway station rating, all the metros, if you see the next one, you will be able to see how we have been able to deal with that aspect. All the 600 metro railway stations in 13 cities are all under the IGBC green. We were the one who first started it. Later on, Singapore Metro, Hong Kong Metro, Dr. Rajkumar mentioned Hong Kong over there, including the USGBC has started the green metro rating now. We started the green city rating first. Then Australia has recently adopted the Indian green cities rating now. Very, very important, because why I'm trying to say is we are now leaders in many areas, not depending on what somebody else, like for even the building code chapter on sustainability. We are the first one who did that. Let's see the type of impact that can have. The green township, this is what are the other end of the scale. Then you do integrated green township, all categories, including landscaping. You can have for the greenfield cities like Dholera, Gift City, Mahindra Industrial Park, Sri City, Newtown, Calcutta, Rajarhat. These are all the greenfield projects. New land, new development, you can plan, do whatever. But most of the cities are existing cities or brownfield cities. How do you deal with that? All your 100 smart cities, 500 Amrut cities, what do you deal with those to make them better, sustainable on that? We have also done a separate rating for that category, including the Hill Station 1. For the Rajkot city, is a smart city, it's got platinum. Many are going to fall in line, as you can see for the chart, including a hill located called Kedarnath, which has become an IGBC platinum city already on that. If you're able to do that, Rajkot, just see the wonderful impact it can have. The smart city, it is able to energy saving of 65 million kilowatt per year. And LED lighting, maybe 8.45 million kilowatt per year saved. Power from solar power plant, about 55.6 million kilowatt. Waste to energy from a solid waste. So it's a combination of all that, including various other things in terms of pedestrianization, user-friendly one, citizen-friendly one, greening area. How do you increase the green cover? How do you use integrated water management, wastewater recycling to be recycled water to be used back? There's so many initiatives coming under that. I could put all that in one chart. Green cities will be itself a topic which can go for 2 hours. I only put one slide here. Going forward, some of the smart cities like Bhopal, Bangalore Smart City, Pune, Jabalpur, Chandigarh already have lined up to want to convert their existing cities to a green, which effectively means integrated water management, waste management, energy management, good transportation one, additional greening space to be put, better housing, clean, hygienic environment, good public space. I'm very happy Dr. Rajkumar mentioned about that. How do you increase the public space into a large way? If we are working toward 8 square meter per person, which is the WHO requirement, we still have less than 3 square meter per person in the Indian context. Whereas if you see 48% of the whole of Singapore, we've taken the model, has all gone completely green. Singapore is now called no more a city with garden. It's called a city within a garden. That means your garden greening component has become so good. So a city within a garden is Singapore, whereas we have to aspire towards that. That brings in the whole environment, your climate issue. How do you combat the heat island effect of the buildings coming over there is all the green cover that can come. It's a very major area we can work on. If you do all this, ladies and gentlemen, you'll be working towards sustainable. Word means everything. Durable in terms of long durability, affordable to all categories of people and not for the rich and mighty alone, and green habitat. Habitat is where I'm glad you used all the word buildings and the infrastructure around here with appropriate and resilient technology. Each has a meaning on its own. We are available for the most mighty, the prosperous towering buildings on one side, or you can have the lowest level of a single story one. The heights of prosperity and depths of poverty are going to mingle in all your cities. How you can deal with each of them? It's a big challenge, very big challenge. We have all been taking only the other one aspect earlier, the middle income, high income, only the needs of the affluent one, but not the other half. If you want inclusive, sustainable habitat, you got to have inclusive cities to be made in a very large way. And that's an area where in which a lot of activities will be there. And I'm happy that my presentation ends over here. I'll take another 3 minutes for the closing remarks, which is important. If you want to do that, well, let this remain on the screen for a time being. Our whole idea is to deal with the whole area. If you want to get this as part of it, the green education is an important thrust area. So how do you get to the architectural curriculum and the design curriculum and other curriculum to get which will not only in terms of sustainable elements as part of it, not gone in so much in a big way. How do you get that? We'll help you, sitting with you, to get it as a part of the green education component in your second year or third year or fourth year or final year. How do you get the right level of exposure to green development in a large way? As I told you, phenomenal amount of green building development is happening all over, not only visiting Padmanabhapuram Palace, as Sab said, or Trivandrum, where all the good work of cost-effective housing is done. Get into some of those good green building, green built environment projects also in a large way for internship. Many would be happy to work with that. The green building consultant, about 35,000 professionals are working in this area. I would like to see each one of your faculty and the students, by the time they graduate over there, in addition to the degree that they have of either architecture or design or other one, to also become an IGBC accredited professional, AP. It's a very easy thing to get them a good exposure on that. Then you become industry friendly. You are getting training those young professionals. I'm happy that you have good arrangement to deal with the placement in people. Industry wants that. Once you know that you are not only a BArch along with an IGBC accredited professional, your market value goes so much higher. And they all want, are you a sustainability person? And that's exactly what is going to happen. We'll be very happy to work on it. I already have discussed with your team, with Saurav and Abu and the whole team that I understand. They also discussed with the senior management to an IGBC student chapter to be put over there in the campus there in your important school. Your institution is very different from the other architecture schools there. JSAA is a very different school of centers of excellence with new dimensions, as so beautifully articulated, not only by Mr. Michael, but also by indicated by Rajkumar sir. So we would like to open, we have 310 student chapters available in architecture schools and IITs and engineering colleges. We would like to have one such student chapters to be positioned here in your beautiful campus, and so that we can work together along with our team, IGBC team, with the student representatives, faculty people, their own knowledge level, and each one of them goes up to some, and which will also help them to take up the IGBC AP as part of your passing out itself and not doing it later. And that's a very major area we can work on. And now that I'm talking on this, I talked about the various ratings which are available. We have an exclusive rating also for campus ratings, sir. I want to see Dr. Rajkumar sir as well as Thomas Michael to see how best your own campus of the Jindal School of Architecture. I'm sure it will be beautiful. I'm sure I want to come and see it one of these days when the cloud of COVID lifts in a very large way. We can you convert that also into an IGBC green campus rating also. It'll be very good because your own interest, you get a recognition on that particular thing. You also start continuously doing the building management system, infrastructure management system with the right level of systems to do it. Because at the end of the day, what gets measured gets monitored, and what gets monitored gets managed. It's very important, and therefore very necessary to do it in the post-completion and operational phase. Also important to deal with that. And I'm also happy that our initiatives have gone into the COVID-related issue. The last point on which I want to close on our contribution the last 2 years, 2020 and 2021, has been phenomenal. After the post-COVID one, into what happens to all the environment, because infection-free environment to be done in all the office spaces. How do we do that? How do you bring the social distancing component? And more important thing is to have an adaptive aspect to be done. Previously, you got some larger space, lesser space. I mean, lesser space, you give larger space coming. You're working from home, a new dimension coming. Even the school education and college education undergone change. So what are all the changes that will be happening with the new environment of the e-learning coming? All these are important issues to which we brought in our rating skills team for not only for all the COVID hospitals to be established, how can we do infection-free environment, etc. All have been brought in. And similarly for office environment, what we need to do. And we have a wonderful design ideas competition for the architecture school. I want to invite the Jindal School of Art and Architecture to also participate in that. This year's theme is going to be on the adaptive use of the various spaces to deal with the new environment. What all the new design input that can get into not only the new things on the drawing board, but also existing and how do you convert them into that. Over 300 architecture schools participate. Maybe you might not have done it so far. I want to invite you to join in that particular thing. We also have another interesting group called the IGL, or the Indian Green League, for students and faculty people. Of course, the next phase is starting in August. I'm sure my good colleague, Jit Kumar Gupta, who is participating in this particular program, who is also chairman for the IGBC whole activity out of the 29 chapters. One is in Chandigarh. He heads that. He'll be mentoring with you or your team. He's already done that to establish the chapter, to work together with your team. And I said, we're most happy to work along with your team. And thank you very much for the opportunity given to me to come and give this commencement lecture to all the distinguished faculty and the young, bright students. And accordingly, igniting the young minds, if we're able to do that, that's the best thing that can. These seeds have got to be planted right at the young age in this 5-year course that you have over there. How to bring all these issues on sustainability and resilience in a large way. To some extent, it's covered there, but that has got to be opened up in a very large way. And I thank you once again. I'm sure there will be some, I'll be most happy to take, if there is time for questions, to answer that, or we'll have a lot of opportunities when the chapter gets open. I want the student chapter to start working maybe the August 10, before August 10 itself. It can easily be done through a virtual inauguration. We can have that. And you will have a representative from the faculty team and also a good team from the students of either the third or the fourth or the final year students to be involved in that very actively. And I'm very impressed when I saw from Dr. Rajkumar, your students' newsletter coming. Excellent. That'll be a good way by which the green building and sustainable thing can also be disseminated through the IGBC student chapter and your own newsletter that you're trying to bring in this particular one. So let me close once again. The big thanks to Dr. Rajkumar, Michael, Jaideep Chatterjee, as well as Sridhar Patnaik ji, and the whole team, including Saurabh. Thank you very much for all the introduction and anchoring the whole program. And once again, grateful. And let me also thank Abu for helping me in the Talmail. Mind you, I have not operated this. He has done it over there. He has understood the speed at which I'm doing the 55 slides in 30 minutes time, and he has done a good job. Thank you, Abu, for getting the same feel. I think once this feeling comes over there, it's very easy to put across information very largely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Just wanted to say what an extraordinary presentation, Mr. Suresh. I am, as I said, I am a lawyer and a law professor, but the way it was a fantastic tour de force on so many issues that you brought to bear. I can only hope that you can share the presentation with us. I know our students
kindly disseminate to everybody, all the faculty, all the students, please share it. Anything that this is specially prepared for your lecture. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now that you talk, sir, with your background legal, I promised I'll add something on legal and regulatory issue. That's an equally important component, especially the National Building Code with Part 2 on administration, with all the issues. How do you ensure fire safety, environment safety, with so many regulatory authorities, which are all the regulatory, not a municipal corporation alone. The Pollution Control Board, the Environmental Impact Assessment Agency, your height clearance people, roughly about 30 odd clearances come on that. How do you deal with that? How do you bring a techno-legal regime by which through legal provisions, you are able to ensure those technical requirements, which are like Seattle has done on that. How can you ensure that? So these are very interesting features, and the professional backgrounds of each one of the professionals. How do you make accountability of the people in terms of professional capability and responsibility fixing in case anything happens to those particular buildings, etc. So those aspects are all covered in a very minute detail. I didn't have time to indicate which are all the laws and regulations in this operating environment and how do you deal with that is another topic which you can cover. I'm going to understand that you have, as part of your larger design, already a school of law and legal related issues also. We should do a portion of that to the students of architecture to the extent it will be useful for their practice in a day-to-day way, but a larger amount of exposure on that, maybe for the legal course. I'm glad you mentioned Professor Rajkumar.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sureshji, for the enlightening talk, as well as your insights and ideas of your lifetime of work. I would now request Professor Sridhar Patnaik, our registrar, Honorable Registrar, to deliver some concluding remarks on the commencement lecture of 2021. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Professor Saurav, and thank you so much, Dr. Suresh. That's indeed a very remarkable speech. Usually the speaker coming towards the end will have a challenge as to understand what should be the content of the speech and what will be the remarks to be made. But today I'm in a very safe and a luxurious situation because I completely agree with what Professor Rajkumar had mentioned at the beginning of the commencement lecture. And even now, with his right intervention, we learnt a lot. I am a law professor myself, and as a law student, these are some of the issues that we are not aware of in an intricate manner. But the way you presented, not only myself, and I'm sure that all the incoming students of the School of Art and Architecture and even the existing students will certainly benefit from your address, because there is a very important message in what you had delivered this morning. And that very important message is, to me, everything on this planet is interconnected and we are all part of the equation. And this could be even a point of departure for all our students, most importantly, because when you come to the School of Art and Architecture, unlike majority of the architecture schools in the country, this school is located within the university in such a manner that we have schools on law, public policy, or international affairs, and liberal arts that also offers a bachelor's in fine arts. So you'll have a lot to gain from your school and also from outside your school. And in particular, of relevance here will be the School of Environment and Sustainability. And all of that had been remarkably covered by Dr. Suresh and even Professor Rajkumar in his address this morning. So this is a terrific note to begin the year with. And I can only assure you that you're going to have an exceptional experience being here at the School of Art and Architecture, and you need to take fullest advantage of your education at this particular place, and wherein not only just the School of Art and Architecture, but all our other schools also impart education, not only in a student-centric manner, so that the learning outcomes are important, but also we take into consideration the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which our speaker had alluded to this morning. On this particular note, I congratulate all the students who joined the school, and to help you induct further, we will also have a university resource orientation. You already attended the pre-semester immersion and training program, and the URO, or the university resource orientation, will be a logical extension of that particular program, so that you're more aware of the university that you're part of, and then you can begin your lectures or your classes formally on the 16th of August, albeit in an online mode, unfortunately, due to the special circumstances. And this morning with Dr. Suresh's speech, I just can only say that this is a terrific beginning, and we cannot thank enough our speaker for his very insightful lecture.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Sridhar Patnaik. I would now like to send across the vote of thanks for everybody who has helped in making this occasion a huge success. I would like to thank Mr. Vasudevan Suresh for his inspiring lecture to all of us as well as the students. I would like to thank Professor C. Rajkumar, Professor Sridhar Patnaik, Professor Thomas Mittal, as well as Professor Jaideep Chatterjee for gracing this event with their wonderful visionary ideas and thoughts. I would like to thank Professor Abu Dalla Faruqi, for helping us tirelessly in making this occasion, making this commencement lecture a huge success. I would like to thank Mr. Ashish Kumar and Ms. Monica Bansal, who have stayed behind the curtains but have contributed in many ways than one to this lecture. And finally, thanks to all the students and my fellow colleagues who have joined us for this wonderful milestone event at the JSAA today. A big thank you to all of you. Thank you so much.